America is emerging as the neo-capitalist nation, but the same nation becomes the center of modern academic discussions that hits a huge blow on neo-capitalists on the third world. In such a contradicting state, what do you think as the future of American nationalism? Isn't there a division of political and oh, absolutely. I mean, here is the I live in America. I've lived there for 25 years, right? But I will always be a Rajput from Potohar. That's, my cultural identity. My wife laughs at it because she says, "What are the Rajputs famous for?" And I was like, "For having no business sense and fighting in every war for whosoever came calling and dying in it. That's what we are famous for. We're not very smart people, right?" But here is the beauty of America. It's the contradictions of America that is its beauty, right? And what are those? The contradictions are there is a huge conservative right wing, right, which has its own permutations. There are those who are okay, they're just social conservatives. There are those who are just economic conservatives, and then there are racist, xenophobic conservatives, right? All of them are part of America. Then, as you come to the middle, there is a huge middle, which is neither this nor that. These are your average people who go to work, right? Make a living, try to raise their children, and try to be decent to each other. And then there is a left, right? Which believes that there should be socialized healthcare, that there should be free education. And so this is the spectrum of American politics. Most productive part of it is this middle, right? Because these are the people who may not be politically committed, but they are willing to accept differences. They are willing to be respectful to other people. That is the place of the most promise. Because far left would tell you everyone is evil, and then the right would tell you everyone is evil. So this is the spectrum of American politics. The contradiction of America is that the cutting edge thought emerges here, but also the policies that enslave the world, the policies that create the kind of world that we exist in, also emanate from here, right? That is the contradiction of America. What keeps this going is a viable democratic system, right? Now, we all know that we are not free, right? Right now, I know I'm not free in America. I can say whatever I want. I can write whatever I want without getting in trouble. But if I want to leave my job and go elsewhere and do something else, I am not free because I need health insurance, right? And that means that I cannot just leave and go elsewhere. My choices are look for a job that may pay me less but has health insurance. Because without that, with my pre existing condition, I will not be able to sustain my life in America. These are the limitations in a democratic society. That how do they keep us under control, right? Students who come to our universities are absolutely free to have their freedom of opinion, but their scholarships are connected to good conduct, right? So chances are, if they are on a scholarship, they are not likely to go and join a protest, and certainly not a protest that actually marches on the Capitol, because if they get arrested and if they have a record, they will lose their financial aid, right? So in a free society, then capital creates its own modes of controlling our movement, controlling our freedom, right? But the possibilities still exist, right? People create solidarities, people create ways of doing things differently. That possibility is still there, right? And that's what I like about it, that there are people not afraid of asking questions. And there are people who are constantly try to think differently, try to figure out things differently. But there are millions upon millions of people in United States who don't care about these things, who don't reflect on what's the impact of US capitalism on the world, who are not worried that workers elsewhere in the world are deeply being exploited, right? To to give them the cheap goods that they can buy at Walmart. But there is this whole spectrum of American constituencies and identities, it depends where you fall in it, right? And that will decide your worldview. That will decide how you view India, how you view China. So always keep that in mind, that there is nothing singularly American. Okay, America is always particularly which group you are a part of, which class, which region, which faith, what politics, just as there is no monolithic India, right? Um, because and so one thing that I always teach my students is to be precise, to be particular. When you mobilize a generalization for an argument, point it out. This is a generalization. I am using it to make a point, but I understand that such huge generalizations are improbable, right? So that's and you say how far such contradictions between multicultural propositions and reality of the white dominant can go together. That's also like, so how far they can go. Um, Again, it depends on where on the spectrum you are, right? I would say that there is a limit. The dominant groups, even when they are progressive, right, they eventually have internalized this privileged idea of where they are in a given department, in wherever they are. So it depends on the numbers, right? So let's say if it's just Masood Raja in a department of 55 faculty doing what I do, obviously my function would be perfunctory. It may not have a lot of impact. I will have impact on my students, but not on departmental policy, right? But if I have two African American colleagues, two Chicano colleagues, a few Arab colleagues, if there are 7 or 8 of us and we become a constituency, then we start having an impact, because then we speak in solidarity, right? So the lesson from that is that you develop solidarities with people in the same political situation, and then you look for allies in the dominant group. You try to create those allies, and then you work together for change on a micro level. But on a nationalistic level, same thing is happening on the national level. There is a left in United States, but it's not a united left, right? There are those who are single issue leftists, there are those who are Marxists, there are those who are anarchists, and then there are those who are middle of the left road progressive people. The idea is to build a coalition, right? And work through that coalition without forcing your views on the other group. And I think that's what works on the micro level in United States, and that's what works on a larger scale. The most dangerous place to be in any given culture is to assume in the fiction that you alone have to do it and that you alone have the answers. I think as human beings, we must always create these networks of solidarities with others.